I will call for the oath of allegiance. You don't have to stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of
flag
the United States of America,
America,
to the republic
to
for
the
which it stands, one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'm required to state that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided indicating the time and place of the meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising a notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times and by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Beth, may I have a roll call, please?
yes, members Clymer, Coyle,
Yes.
Pryor,
Here.
Weeks, Mayor Mangucci,
Here.
Vice Chairman Fishback, Chairman Van Vliet,
Here.
and alternate member Steinhardt.
Here.
Okay, I guess we're moving on to old business is to approve the minutes of the June 24th, 2020 meeting. Has everyone received a copy of those? And are there any questions, objections, additions?
I'll just say I missed a good portion of the meeting, so I probably can't vote on it.
I wasn't there either.
Okay.
I would also like to abstain.
Mayor, you and I signify by saying yes?
Yeah, yes, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, any objections? Any abstentions? We have 3. Minutes are passed. The next order of business is the ordinance to amend Chapter 243, the zoning and land use, Article 7, plan and plat requirements, Section 40 and 43 of the code to require sanitary sewer capacity and design verification for preliminary subdivision and site plan application. It's also affecting zoning and land use, Chapter 243, Attachment 10 application and escrow account for revisions. Has everyone received a copy of that?
Yes.
We can take action on it to pass it to go up to council. Any questions for anyone? George, do you have any comments on it?
I had one comment, and I'm not sure how important it is, but since this is a completeness item, the question I had is that the basic statement says, and the proposed design of the sanitary sewer system and its interconnection is satisfactory. I just didn't like the word satisfactory, only because as a completeness item, the guy has to obviously show and demonstrate that there's adequate capacity at the plant and that he has a way, at least in his head, of how he's going to make the interconnection. But I guess satisfactory to me sort of came up as, you know what I mean? In completeness, you can have something, but it isn't necessarily what it's going to be approved as. And so I just wondered if instead of using the word satisfactory, which implies that it has to be approved, whether or not we just have him define or show that he can make the interconnection.
A demonstration.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just tossing it out because satisfactory implies, I assume, that the sewer engineer would have to say that yes, there's capacity, and I find the design appropriate. Which
George, I'm sorry. Go ahead, George.
I'm sorry.
George, this is Joe Pryor. That's a good point and a good catch. And I wonder if you just don't put a period after system and leave it there.
Well, that's fine, because I just thought it just implies a conclusion before the guy even gets in front of it.
No, I understand. And so he's submitting, let's see, verification that capacity exists. As a completeness item, you know what? It's interesting you raise that because you're not going to have a verification of capacity as a completeness item, right? He's going to get it with the submission.
Okay,
But I thought the point was that we needed to find out if we had sewer capacity before we went through the exercise
yeah,
of going through it.
Prior to approval.
well,
Yeah.
I thought actually asking him to let the board know that there is capacity actually was a pretty good idea. Only because why should he or the board go through the whole, it's like doing a test for a on-site septic. You have them do the perk test, so you don't go through the whole exercise of reviewing and approving and then coming back and going, nothing works. I would think that wanting to know that there is capacity available would be, well, it'd also be important to the applicant.
Yeah, but one of those exercises is you're looking at downstream capacity as well as plant capacity. So you have to see the number of units.
Yep.
You have to see the flow projection and his general scheme for connecting. And when are you going to get that? You're going to get that as part of the submission. If you make it part of completeness, then that whole thing has to be done and finished and reviewed before you can consider the application.
I always thought you could have him submit the stuff. It doesn't, all I just was suggesting is that where it says satisfactory, it doesn't imply that what he turns in necessarily doesn't have to be the final plan. Because it may change, the sewer engineer may look at it and say, no, guys, there's a better way to do it. Just like when other people submit for completeness, it doesn't mean it's what the board finally approves.
No, George, I get that. I understand that. But you're not going to have verification from the township's consulting engineer as part of the completeness.
Okay,
He's going to get the plans, and as part of his review,
well, that's fine. I
I'll do
don't have
that.
a problem with that.
I don't know how you word that, and that can actually be worded at council, but I get it. He can be heard, he can be heard, will be discussed, and there'll be an opinion issued at some time during the review.
Yeah, and I think the main thing would be to make sure that he and the planning board was not wasting their time. If there's no gallonage. You know what I mean? That he isn't starting a process that can't end because there'd be no available capacity. That I think is important to get up front, that at least there's a potential for it, that he can solve the problem. Because if not, why go through the exercise?
Well, you know what, then he's going to have a review before he can even schedule a hearing.
Well, I guess I'm tossing that out. Is that what we're trying to do? Personally, I guess I don't have a problem with that, but it means that the board pretty much has to wait for the sewer engineer to do his thing.
I thought that was the exercise we were looking to do, was in his application that he had to verify that there was sewer capacity available. I'm not looking for the final design at completion,
Okay.
but I would think that we would want to have, number one, is sewer capacity available to him, and what's he going to do if he's not in the sewer service area?
Oh, right, because he'd have to get ready to amend the wastewater
So
and take it through that process.
What do we do now with the wastewater? We don't address that, do we? We make it a condition?
Yeah, we just, I've always looked at it, we just make it a condition of approval, and if you can do it, and get it approved, fine. If you don't, well, guess what? You're out of luck.
yeah, it wouldn't have to be a final design. It would just be the fact that he ascertained that there is sewer capacity available, whether he's granted it or not. That would be in the final provisions, but
No, I agree. I think
we wanted to address the fact that when we do get a site plan in, we want to see what the sewer is going to be, where the connections are, and basically go from there. That was the objection of not having anything in there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I guess the only thing I was picking on was just the one word, satisfactory, because it implies an approval, that's all. The one word,
I agree with taking satisfactory out.
yeah,
It kind of leaves it open to interpretations for somebody, so.
well, I don't, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it isn't that important. I just thought that as a matter of completeness, you don't necessarily have to be approving the thing.
Joe, I believe you were one of the ones that brought, or
Well, I
you were
was
the one
trying to
that
bring, no, in the
that
past,
brought it up.
we didn't address it at all. We left that for council, and that always left a very messy situation. I was trying to bring it up as part of the planning board review. And I really don't have a problem if you make an opinion letter relative to capacity as part of the completeness, but then he would have to get that. He would have to get it before he even made his submission.
Do
Yeah.
you think that would be prudent on our part to do that?
Yeah, I do.
Jim, do you have an opinion on that, or?
No, and I think, Chairman, you're right. The entire idea and design of this was to get up front, the information that not necessarily that it is designed, but simply that it is possible. It's not necessarily binding. It's just an opinion from our sewer engineer that, yeah, it looks okay. It looks like it's doable, and it gives the board some solace in moving forward. It's certainly not binding. It's just part of the review process, and it can always be waived. So, an applicant can come in, and if they have a problem, they can seek a waiver and say, we still want to be heard as to the merits, and we'll work out the sewer issue later. It'll be our risk.
I think, it was prudent that the planning board would know of that before it goes through the exercise of having everything, plans drawn up and submitted, and so that's
Yeah,
where I'm at.
this
Joe?
point is well taken. We don't want to commit 3 meetings to something and find out there's no capacity. So I think that opinion should be finalized, before the guy gets approval.
Yeah. And just, just to that point, I think that there are occasions when people can pursue an application before the board and the capacity is not there yet.
Mhm.
There are, scarce resources and other types of considerations go into affordable housing and other concerns. And there are occasions when people can actually invoke the board's jurisdiction, knowing full well that there may not be ultimate sewer capacity for them, at least when they're applying. But that's their choice, and that's information that the board can utilize in coming to its determination and its conditions of approval.
I was going to say, we could always make that a condition of approval and let it move on there to have the project looked at, ready to go, if sewer capacity becomes available. It was basically done for Overlook when they were delayed, 15, 20 years before they could come off the sewer restrictions we had in town. And when they came back, roaring and got sewer capacity.
Couldn't
But
you
they were
just say
already-
contingent on capacity, something like that?
Yeah,
Well,
and I
that
think
would
that,
be understood.
and I think that there was at least my recollection is, and it's been a long time, there was a feeling amongst the board that they wanted the sewer engineer and the consulting engineer to take a look at it for 2 reasons. Not just confirm that there was capacity, but that the system design was actually feasible and it didn't conflict with other things. If my recollection is correct. So there's a twofold purpose of doing it as a checklist item, and it gets it up there. And I think it was Mr. Pryor that wanted it to get up there to the.
I think we're doing that. We're playing with the words, and I have a suggestion. First 3 lines are pretty good. It says capacity exists to service the proposed subdivision. And I'd like to say the general layout and proposed point of connection and leave it there. At least we know where he's going with this work. details aren't there. Maybe the, some of the sewer lines, the routes are going to change, but we know where he's going to connect.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I do. I like that. I think that
Yeah,
makes him show the board what he intends.
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. I can make that change.
All right.
And frankly, there's another change that needs to go in there too. There's a Township of Roxbury reference that has to come
Yeah, we've seen Roxbury before, I think.
in.
I did change that for you, Jim.
Thank you, Beth. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're satisfied with it, Joe, George?
I am. I think it's, with that change, it's probably ready to go to council.
I think it's fine.
And Tia, any suggestions?
No, I'm happy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Mr. Mayor?
Now we're good. Thanks for those recommendations. That's fine with me.
Okay, well, can we act on this, Jim? We'll make a motion to send this up to council with our approval with the changes that were suggested.
Absolutely.
Okay, do I hear someone make a motion on that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Beth, roll call vote, please.
Yes, members Coyle,
Yes.
Pryor,
Yes.
Mayor Mangucci,
Yes.
Chairman Van Vliet,
Yes.
member Steinhardt.
Yes.
Okay, that's about, the only other thing, we have resolution number 20-06 for change in legal newspapers. We discussed that before. Is there any action we have to take to adopt that, Beth?
Yes, please, a motion and a second, and I'll roll call it.
Okay, do I hear a motion on, I'm sorry, any questions on that resolution? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt it?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, Beth, please.
Yes, members Coyle,
Yes.
Pryor,
Yes.
Mayor Mangucci,
Yes.
Chairman Van Vliet,
Yes.
and member Steinhardt.
Yes.
Okay. I'll call for public comment. I don't think we have anyone in the public joining us. Lori, are you, you're the
I'm
only
here.
member of the
Actually,
public?
thank you for your resolution for the sewer, adding that about the sewer. I think that's really helpful because why go through the whole process if you're not even going to be able to get sewer, especially with the limited capacity we have in town at this time.
Yeah, we're pretty much limited, and I don't see any time in the future that Phillips is going to expand the capacity of their plant.
No, I don't think so. That was great.
So,
That's it.
okay, any further comments, anyone? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll make
moved.
a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes. Any objections? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned.